Welcome back to another edition of the Locker Room Report. I'm Brady Beedon, as always, joined by Wayne State head ball coach Tyrone Wheatley. Coach, coming off of last week, a 13-point loss to Ferris State in a game that was a little odd between two different days. I guess, first of all, before we talk about the game, never really had to deal with that. No one in the booth knew what to do. How did you guys handle it when you had to break up a game between Saturday and Sunday?
Well, you know what? This season is the season of firsts, right? There's a couple of things we've had to do, and with the first with a lot of these guys. But we talk about adversity, right? How do you handle adversity? How do you use that? And we don't really look at it as adversity anymore. We just say, hey, it is what it is, and you just handle it. But I think the guys handled it really well. They were, pretty excited to come back the next day, didn't miss a beat or miss a step. They were pretty disappointed about postponing the game, but like we talked about, stop being disappointed, take that energy of being disappointed and put that towards tomorrow. And they was able to do that, and there was a quick transition for them.
You guys competed with Ferris. You had it within three. They were able to answer fairly quickly. What were your takeaways from the game? Because there were some things you did well. I think you took advantage of some Ferris State mistakes, but ultimately still had those good pockets, but just wasn't quite enough.
Well, we talked about it all the time, right? The competitive stamina, being able to do the marginal things well on a consistent basis, right? You can't get to the point where you get so high you forget your assignments. And that's what happened on the long touchdown coming back. You get so high, all of a sudden you think you see what you know, right? But see a little, see a lot. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're getting to the point where they're playing really well. They're doing their assignments. Excuse the French. They just got to go buy a bottle of whoop ass, right? You just got to keep a bottle of whoop ass in your locker because at the end of the day, that was a true fight. And Ferris State won the fight. They've been in those boxing matches before. They've been in those fights before. So to them, they said they got hit in the face a couple of times. They got punched. But you know what? They stood in there and they withstood the rounds that we couldn't win, and they won it. And, hats off to them. But they've been there before, right? But at the end of the day, that's where we're growing and that's what we're growing to. And I'm proud of these guys. They keep fighting. But at some point in time, coaching can't solve it all. Right. At some point in time, it's just me versus – the other guy, Manoy versus Ivano, and that's where the whoop ass got to come into play.
So talking about, you guys were competitive for a while. What was the vibe like after? Because on the one hand, hey, you were playing, you were right there with it with a good team. But on the other hand, you ultimately lost by a couple scores. Was the vibe, hey, yes, we were competitive with them, or were they upset that they didn't seize an opportunity?
Oh, definitely upset that you didn't seize the opportunity. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ferris is an incredible team. But dang it, we're not going to be happy with just, being in the wake of them. That's not who we are, and that's not where we're going to be, right? The days of moral victories are over. We want the victory. And so once again, it's going back to the drawing board of where could we, not Ferris State, where could Wayne State reduce those penalties, which we did, reduce those mistakes, which we didn't, and not just be happy with being in the ball game. Now you got to turn it to being winners of that ball game.
Well, hopefully looking for a win on the west side, going out to take on Davenport. Coach, Davenport's a pretty good team. They've started to build a little bit of consistency in that program. What can you tell everyone about the Davenport Panthers?
Well, listen, like I said, every week it's the same thing, right? You're facing another great team. Now, he's like you say, he's had a chance to put his program together and fight consistency, and he's got those bugs and all those kinks. He's gotten those things ironed out. And we're going in. We're going to play a very physical team. We're going to play a disciplined team. We're going to play a team who's hungry, right, that's in the hunt for this GLIAC championship. And so right now, they're focused on what their job and task is, and we're just a barrier that's in their way. But we have to go in and play our game and play hard and play physical and tough and fight them in their house. And once again, like I say, they have their eyes on the prize, and we will have our eyes on the prize as well. Just a different prize. But make no mistake about it, this team that we're going to face is a pretty ferocious team.
So this Davenport team, year over year, they always look a little different. I mean, Sparky was using the transfer portal before it was cool to use the transfer portal and bringing in guys as much as they can. How much of that does it make difficult to prepare for a team that, it might not be the same team you saw last year, that there's always constantly moving parts with that Davenport program?
Well, you look at so X's and O's, right? You don't look at personnel. You look at just the scheme and schematics of where it needs to be. And that's where the whole thing of what we talked about before, being disciplined. I don't care who I put there. It's just they're going to run their system, right? Now, it might look a little different with when the personnel change, but the system doesn't change. And then that's where the ultimate of, where you have to drop them and grow your pair and just say, I don't care who's there, he's going to get it, right? And so now, as you say, it's going to look different from year to year, but the system doesn't change.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it, and good luck traveling out to take on Davenport.
Thank you very much.
He's head coach Tyrone Wheatley. I'm Brady Beedon, and you're listening to Warrior Football right here on WDTK The Patriot.